What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content with your boy, Chris Kane. Let's talk about the Dolphins. We're still reeling from the Darren Waller trade. I know I am. And so now that we've had like a 24-hour period, we can assess what kind of grade we get, right? Typically in a trade, you give a higher grade if you think a team won the trade. That's generally how it works. In most trades, there is a clear winner and a clear loser. In this trade, it's hard to kind of determine because Darren Waller wasn't playing. And the Giants, I don't believe were really thinking about him. It was like, all right, cool, he retired. We're not worried about him. And then the Dolphins swoop in, pick swap, bring him over, and then give him a 1 year deal. So now Giants have basically a distressed or dead asset that got them a late round pick. So they feel good about that. The Dolphins got a player who potentially could be a starter. He's going to start, obviously, but he could potentially be a good starter that could take our offense from here to a notch above. So ESPN always has analysts for all these things, and the analysts that most recently covered this gave the Dolphins a B plus grade for the trade. And their idea was, it's a B plus because what did you sacrifice to get him? You gave up a late round, 6 round swap, and it's a contract worth up to $5 million, and very likely he won't get up to the $5 million. So if he only gets a $2 million of his $5 million, you give up a 6 round pick for a guy that's going to start for you and is already the best tight end you have on your roster. That's kind of a win. Like, that's a good trade. You gave up very little and got good in return. If he balls out, you gave up $5 million for a tight end that balled out. You were already going to pay $4.8 million for a tight end last year. So you pay zero point 0.2. Okay, 0.02. Fine. But it's like, or zero point 0.2. But it doesn't matter, like, for real, for real. Like, you didn't offer too much more money. He's older, obviously, and then you have to figure out what will happen if he plays well for upcoming season. But the idea is that you're taking a flyer on someone and you didn't give up a lot to get him. So the upside is good. Is he going to do what Jonnu did last year? 800 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns. Could he do that? I mean, that would be his best season since 2020. So it seems unlikely that Waller would do what Jonnu did last year. Could he do 600 yards, 5 touchdowns? I mean, that seems a little bit more reasonable. And if he's getting paid at that number in production, he would only get a portion of his contract. So if he gets 2.5 million of the 5, but gives you 80% of the production, and you can be off the books in a year, I don't know. That feels like organizationally not the worst thing in the world. We also added Nick Westbrook-Akine, right? So we didn't have that third receiver option down the field that was also a big body type receiver. So we don't know how good Jonnu would be if Nick Westbrook was also there last year. Part of what made Jonnu so good is that we had small injured receivers on the outside, and he was in the middle being big and physical. If we had a second receiver that was doing some of the same stuff, his stats would probably come down. So I don't expect Waller to have the same production Jonnu had last year because the team is actually different. We should be able to run the ball more. Our line should be better. We have better receiving options. We have Tyreek going for a contract. I expect Waller's contribution to be less. But if he's within the range while getting paid less, then it's a win for the team. Like, just point blank. So I think a B plus is a good grade. I would have probably given it a B. I think B plus is like a little strong. That's basically them saying we think Waller's going to be really good. I think Waller will be productive. He'll have flashes of, ooh, is that the old one? And he'll have some games where he's mostly a decoy, blocking, you know, maybe not being quite in sync with Tua because he hasn't been there the whole time. I don't expect him to hit the ground and be like Travis Kelce day one. I do think he'll be better than what we have currently. So I'm looking forward to. I think B plus is a great. I think that's them doing us a solid. I think that's a little too high. I would give it a B, but that's just me. Another report came out today that despite the fact that the Dolphins need a cornerback, we know it, the league knows it, free agents know it, that the Dolphins are not amending their offer for any potential cornerbacks. They're not paying more money, basically. They said the price is the price. Either you want the price or you don't want to be here. That's where they are. Now, as a Dolphin fan, people are like, hey, man, what's going on? You need a cornerback. They're on the market. Just spend the money and go get it. Here's the problem. As a Dolphin fan, we've seen this story before. Honestly, let's keep it a buck. Jalen Ramsey was good with the Dolphins. but he wasn't as good with us as he was with Jacksonville and Rams. We know what happened with Byron. Did not work. We saw what happened with Xavier. Didn't work out. We saw what happened with Fuller. Didn't work out. So the Dolphins have said we spent big money on cornerbacks 4 different times. And basically, you can kind of say Ramsey worked because his first year he was still a Pro Bowler. But the last 2 years, he hasn't been great. So the Dolphins could be saying, hey, we've spent big money on cornerbacks 4 different times. And none of those times have we gotten what we wanted back in return. Makes sense to me. That's like, I'm the one telling them to go out and spend money. But when you are over 4 and doing it, and nobody on the market, I think, currently is as good as those people were when they were being signed by the team, I get it. I think the whole thing is we want someone at a certain price. We are not going to get hamstrung. We're not paying long term. I think when they gave Jalen Ramsey the contract, they kind of felt like we needed to because he had come off a good season and the cornerback market was about to jump, so we had to hold on to him. But if you keep it, I don't think they really wanted to give him that much money. I think they were kind of content with him playing the deal out, but they thought he might be contentious and he might kind of destroy the locker room, so they didn't want to do anything crazy. This is probably fiscally responsible, but it will probably lead to the team not being as good next year. That's kind of how that works. I also don't think they should go out and go crazy with spending money. You guys have heard me on this channel. I'm saying, hey, 1 year, $6 million, 2 for 12. Like I'm throwing out, I think relatively low numbers. Top corners are getting over 20 million now. I'm throwing out 10 and below. And the Dolphins are like, I think their number is 5 and below. They are not trying to spend money, which is why I think Stephon Gilmore will end up being on the team. I think Rasul Douglas, again, is who they want. I think Rasul thinks if I don't sign right now, like right before training camp or whatever, that during the year, my services will be needed and somebody will come and pay the price I want. So I think he's almost willing to hold out and just kind of not play right now. Stephon Gilmore is older. I think there may be 1 or 2 teams that he's trying to pit back and forth. Like, hey, they offer me 2.5. Can I get 2.7? We're doing this back and forth thing. But I think he wants to get on the team because he knows this could be my last year. At best, I have 1 more year after this. So I think the team is in the prime position to say, hey, we're not playing ball. Like, we're not going to be held over a barrel because we have a need. And I think that's smart because we've done it before. I think we kind of did that with Tua, if we're being honest. I think they were like, oh, man, Tua wants to hold out. There's no quarterbacks on the market. We don't have any money. We don't have a high enough draft pick to get another quarterback. All right, fine, let's pay Tua. And if Tua balls out for the next couple of years, cool. If Tua this year or next year doesn't play as well, they will be in the same situation with Tua they were just in with Jalen Ramsey, where it's like, well, we kind of want to get out of Tua, but I do like a soft exit behind the scene, and I can see how that whole thing can happen because when you're held at gunpoint, basically, you don't always make the best decisions. So I get it. I mean, I would like them to go get a cornerback, but I don't know if anyone in the market currently is worth what they think they're worth. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be on the market, right? Speaking of cornerbacks, Kader Kohou is on another 1-year deal, and he's been with the team for the last few years, and he's been a valuable member of the secondary because he's a kind of plug-and-play guy. He's played all over, left corner, right corner, slot, wherever you want him, he plays. And now he's basically like the vet of the cornerbacks. I know Minka's, I guess, the vet of the safeties, but Kader is the vet of the cornerbacks right now. And he's come out recently saying, I got to be the leader for the cornerbacks, right? I got to give them, I got to show them how we do things here. There are a lot of 23, 24-year-olds here who don't know how the Dolphins actually play. They don't know how we are as an organization. They don't know how we prepare, how we're going to do our things going forward. It's my job as basically the unk in the room. He's a young unk, but he's kind of the unk in the room. I got to show them how we do things. And I like the fact that he's trying to take a leadership role because I think he's the corner the Dolphins want to keep on the roster going forward. They did the thing where they let him, test the market a little bit and see what was out there. And nobody really took the bait. Like, someone could have came and got him. We tendered him. Anybody could have had him. And no one did. So I think the Dolphins understand. We know he has more value to us than he has to the league. And I think he's been here for the last few years. He's played in 49 games in the last 3 years. We've only had 51 games. So he's basically played in every game for 3 years. He's been all over the place. Special teams, corners, left corner, right corner, slot. And so because he's been everywhere on the team and we brought him back for another 1-year contract, I believe this is really like the best version of an audition. Because even if he balls out this year, I don't think he goes from 3 million a year to like 15, 20. Like I don't think his value jumps that much unless he legitimately goes crazy this year. I'm talking 8 to 10 picks, some pick sixes, like player of the week, player of the month. If he does something like that, it could be a rough one. But I don't see that. I see him as being either a really, really good slot corner, like a Chris Harris type player, if you remember him back in the day for the Broncos. If he can become that level player, where we give him 4 year contract, solid money. I can see him doing a 3 year, you know, 20 to 24 million type dollar, like somewhere in that where you're clearly our number three, maybe number two corner, but we need a number one guy. That's the position he's in where he's not gonna be a top end number one guy. But he's good on the team. He has a good temperament. I like the fact that he wants to be a leader because we don't have any proven people at corner right now outside of him. And he's not even that proven, given his career up to this point. So Minka, I assume, will hold down the safeties. He hasn't had to like say that yet, but he walks in with instant credibility. When you've been a multiple time All Pro, I don't think other safeties are like, "Hey Minka, do you know what you're talking about?" He's good. He's credentialed. But in Cater's case, it's like, "Hey, I know I'm not like the all world corner, but I know what we do here. I know how we run an organization here. I know how we practice. I know what coach expects because I was with coach last year." When you have that institutional knowledge and you have young people coming in, you're the perfect, I guess, caveat, not caveat, you're the perfect vessel to disseminate that to the younger players so they know what they're doing and you can be coaching them on the field while coach is coaching you and it can be like this beautiful little ecosystem. You don't have people just running around with their heads cut off. People understand there's a certain standard we have here and that's what we're trying to set and that's what we're trying to improve on going forward. Now we get to the fun part. We get to talk about your comments and your questions. So the first question is going to be, what do you expect from Jonah 7A this year, given his contract situation? That is a interesting one because he's a guard, and there are very few guards in the league that I think most people know by name. Like we know a couple. Like we know, like we saw Mekhi Becton last year switch to guard and literally just start picking up and throwing people around like he was throwing out trash. But most guards, like the Zach Martin types and all that, like those are rare people that we know. We know tackles and we know a couple centers. We don't know guards as much, right? So I would hope, honestly, the best case scenario for him, maybe not best case, the good case scenario is that he's under the radar while doing his job. If he does his job well and just doesn't give up sacks, is solid in run protection, and outside of like local coverage where it's like, and rookie Jonah is doing a good job on the right side, outside of those kind of things, if we just don't know who he is and he's doing his job, I think he's done his job. I don't need you to be Penei Sewell and be an all world player. I need you to protect my quarterback and to create running lanes for my running back. That's what I need. That's like the middle case scenario. He just does his job well enough that he keeps the starting job. He doesn't get hurt. The holdout doesn't hurt the team. And then he just does his job. We're good. Best case is, hey, this guy's already your best offensive lineman, and you have him for 4 years not really paying him any money. So now you can really build a team around him. And that's awesome. Like he becomes our main like blocker, our main puller. He becomes like what we do off our motion. Like he becomes like the centerpiece of the team. And he becomes maybe a rookie second year Pro Bowler at the guard position. And that's awesome. Because then you can lock him up to a contract a little bit earlier, extend that money out so we can put more money in the rest of the team. That's like a second round pick that pans out to that level. Awesome. Worst case scenario is he's Liam Eichenberg from last year. Where he's just a complete liability, just getting beat off the line, looks slow-footed, doesn't understand what's going on. That would be the worst case situation. I don't believe he would be that. I don't see that based on his tape and just kind of based on how people on the team have talked about him so far. I don't see that being the case. But yeah, that would be that would be not the best situation in the world. So what I believe he would do is be the first thing I talked about. He will be a solid player that's on the line, that's doing his job, that doesn't get the glitz and the glam and the notoriety, but he does his job well enough that we feel like, cool, we have a quality starter going forward. We don't need to talk about it too much, and if anything, keep it a little bit quiet so we can like keep that money down a little bit. But I don't I don't think he's a generational guard the way some guys that come in the league and been where it's like, oh, instantly oh, you are one of the top 8 to 10 in your position immediately, and maybe top five by the end of the year. I don't quite see that, but we'll see what happens. Okay, and final question: what do you expect from Devon A. Chan for the season? I know you mentioned 1,200 yards before. So 1,200 yards wasn't what I expect. That was more ceiling for Devon, because I think the way his game is set up, he could still rush for 1,000 yards and then receive for five, six, 700. What I expect, what I want him to be nearing 2,000 total yards this year. That's super ambitious. And that could be 1,200 rushing, around 800 receiving. That puts him in some rare category. That's what I would like for him. And that tells me that he's being force fed. He's getting a lot of touches. I think he should get the ball 15 to 20 times a game, like maybe 10 to 12 carries, and then 3 to 8 reception. I think he should be in that category where fantasy stud, really top five running back. Like, he should be very much in that conversation with Bijan and the rest of those guys. And because he's such a big play threat, he can literally have 7 carries for 10 yards and then 1 carry for 80 yards. And it's like, oh, look at that stat line. Fantastic. What do I expect? It depends if we keep our fourth running back. If we keep our fourth running back, carries got to come from somewhere. And I think they, as a team, will prioritize keeping him healthy more than feeding him. So if we keep our fourth running back, I don't believe he will get the touches he needs to get the yards that I want him to get. I think he will be in that 10 to 12 touch per game type person, and then we'll split 15 touches between the other three guys. That's what we keep the four running backs. Only if we keep three do I think he can really accomplish all these goals, because I just don't think we're gonna, unless our offense is just super ball control. But I know the team has talked about wanting bigger, more explosive plays, which are downfield, which means your drives are shorter, so you don't have as many plays to run generally. If we're kind of like the Saints' old offense, or the Patriots' offense, where it's 8 to 10 to 12 play drives, then yeah, I mean, he'll be on the field for first and second down for most of those drives. But if we're really getting back to that deep play game, which we are trying to get back to, then there's going to be a lot of 5 play and under drives, and it's going to be probably mostly pass heavy. So I don't know what, I guess, what our roster is going to look like to make that full determination. If I had to guess, and I've been saying this the whole time, I think we're only carrying 3 running backs. So I will say official prediction: 1,100 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, 60ish receptions for like 650 yards, maybe another 3 to 5 touchdowns. So that puts him in that 1,700 to 1,800 yard range and like 15 total touchdowns. That's my today official prediction. I do reserve the right to amend that, but I think with 15 touchdowns and that stats, that puts him in the Jahmyr Gibbs type range for production, which makes sense because Jahmyr splits time with David Montgomery. And if, in this case, Devon would be Jahmyr, and then the other 3 running backs would be David Montgomery. That's kind of how that will work out. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm hoping we can get to 2,000 total yards in the season, because that would be crazy. And that would mean that, one, he's super explosive, but also he's very healthy. He's played a bunch of games. Because if he plays less than 15 games, then I think all these stats are out the window. But if he plays 16, 17 games, he's just too explosive to me to consistently keep him under 100 total yards a game. To get to 2,000 yards for a year, you're talking, what, 125 yards a game total? And that's if you play all 17 games. Like, that's not, to me, that's not crazy. Especially given, a screen pass can go 50, 60 yards like that. And if he's getting carries, then the yards can get up there. So, yeah, I'm saying about 11-ish hundred yards rushing, 600-ish yards receiving, like 15 total touchdowns. That's my expectation for him this year. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Dolphins Daily. We appreciate the love and support. Thank y'all for everything you've been doing. This channel is, listen, we've been very lucky with the news lately. Hopefully we keep getting more news. Like, I don't want to see good players get traded, but I just like the bombshells, and y'all have been right here with us the whole time. We appreciate that. We'll see you next time on Dolphins Daily. Peace.